Us women, we are generally more sensitive to threats than men are, because the part of our brain that senses danger is the amygdala, and it is more easily activated in us than it is in men. And so sometimes the danger and potential threats that we may sense, men may not even be able to pick up on. And this was very helpful to our survival in prehistoric times. But now it's considered to be annoying or overdramatic or anxious. And I think that is why we are less likely to take risks, and we carry a burden of financial responsibility when we feel that the financial responsibility is all on our backs. Because we've always had to rely on men for our survival. And now that we've come to a time where we no longer need men for our survival, because we have ourselves and the government, and money is easily accessible to acquire our resources, these senses that activate in us for sensing potential threats to our survival are just more, we're just more susceptible to that, to noticing that. And it's almost kind of like we shouldn't be worried about money at all. I always think of a world, a culture where women have no worry in the world about financial responsibilities and money. And then I think, actually, that does exist. That exists in the Middle East, where women never have to worry about financial burdens. Their lives are just so with the flow. And I hesitate to say easy, because life is just, you either make it hard or you make it easy, depending on how you perceive things, right? But the truth of the matter is that these women, they don't even know what it's like to carry a burden of financial responsibility. And here, us Western women, we have become so accustomed to that. It's like we don't know any other way than carrying the burden of financial responsibilities. When in reality, in a world that it is supposed to be, men are the ones that are supposed to carry the burden of financial responsibility. And women are supposed to carry the world of the nurturing, the home, the internal feelings of a home, of a society. And if you're a man watching this, I need you to understand that the financial responsibilities should never be solely on a woman's back. She should never have to wake up in the morning scared for her survival and her ability to acquire resources for her survival and the survival of her offspring. It should never be that way. But unfortunately, because we have created this society of men who no longer have financial responsibility, who no longer desire the title of masculinity and what all that entails, because we have our men that are so poverty programmed and feel hopeless in a culture that is trying so hard, especially here in America, to make it hard for us to survive, having basic paying jobs and just feeling like we can't keep up with the times. We can't provide homes for our families. It's almost like you have to give them grace, right? You have to give them understanding for their fears and struggles. But at the end of the day, those burdens should never be put on women. They should be put on a team of men to come together and figure it out. Figure it out for the women and children. And in the Bible it says that any man that does not provide for his own is worse than a non-believer. So men, do yourself a favor and do your future wife a favor. That if you can't afford to feed yourself and you can't believe that you have the independence to first care for your own basic needs, then you should not be going out and seeking a woman to bring into that life and burdening her with financial responsibilities when it is your responsibility. It is your responsibility as a masculine man, as a man that God created to be here to provide for women and children. See, here's a distinct difference between men and women. When men start making money and up-leveling themselves in the financial area, they start to think, oh, yay, I can't wait to provide for my family. I can't wait to make all this money and buy a house for my future family. And when women start to make money and increase their finances, we start to think, well, I don't need a man to take care of me. I can provide all by myself. I don't need a man. If I don't need him for money, what do I need him for? And that's what it is. That's how different we are. That's how differently we view having our finances together. And in no way am I belittling women making money. I think that we all need to be making money, right? Even the Bible talks about growing businesses as followers of God. But to think of a society where it is instilled to women and men from the very beginning of their lives, where men have to be providers, they have to be successful, they have to work hard. It's just unimaginable. It's unimaginable. And that is how it is in other areas, in other cultures. And the women are so happy. They're statistically so much happier than Western women who are overworked, underpaid, isolated, have no community, have no friends, are severely suffering with their fertility. It's crazy. Another thing about us women is that we tend to seek consensus and avoid conflict. We are less confrontational than men. And that is because we are highly vulnerable. And in prehistoric times, our survival literally depended upon our social bonds and keeping and maintaining close social relationships. And so we learned to just people please, say yes, avoid conflict, and keep things comfortable. And I noticed this so much in the workplace, in close personal family relationships, and it just makes sense as to why we tend to think twice about our needs and desires being met, because we almost feel like we don't want it to be too much, and we never want to ask for too much, and we're afraid that those desires are not able to be lived up to, right? Because we, again, it's so deeply ingrained into our brains to just survive and stay comfortable, and don't expand the rubber band. Don't stretch the rubber band. Just agree and say yes. Because our survival depends upon us not rocking the boat. And boy, does this play out in the workforce, because men sometimes tend to look at us like we're crazy and we're solving problems that do not exist, and we're freaking out over the teeniest, tiniest bit of details simply because it is what we have always done. It is built into our brains to help our survival. And the part of our brain that recognizes errors and flaws is actually larger in the female brain than it is in the male brain. And so this is why we tend to be a lot more self-conscious. Not only us recognizing our errors and flaws and being self-conscious, another reason why we get so self-conscious is because we are females, and our attraction and our curves and hips and the form of our body is actually strongly dependent on whether we can procreate or not, and how attractive we are to men. So we are more hypervigilant to noticing these errors and flaws, and sometimes that does create a lot of self-image issues for us. And I just moved recently, and now I have a new place to just beautify and decorate and add my own character and touch and personality into, and nurture and fill the home with like warmth and coziness. And I just love that. I love decorating. I love just having like this environment that is all me. It's all a manifestation of me and my creativity and all of this life force that I have built up inside of me. And through that process of just moving into a new place and having a blank canvas to decorate, I noticed so much of these things, right? They play out because I am so like always on to the next thing of what I need to buy, to decorate and to fill and to bring more life into the space. I'm so obsessed with like getting all the details perfectly right, making it look a certain way. And if you are a guy or you live with a guy, you know that this is so opposite for men. So opposite for men. And men, they could care less. And what I have noticed for myself is that until a man gets married to a woman and he is washed with her feminine energy, he pretty much has no creative touch with anything in the home. He pretty much lets, if he's a married man, he pretty much just lets her do all the decorating and deciding the placement of things and coordinating the colors in the interior design. And he just lets her take on that space, gives her that canvas to create for herself. And then what ends up happening is the man ends up adopting her sense of style and grows into it, and then he gets more of a sense of style, and his creative hand comes out to play. Does that make sense? So men with no wife or children, like no feminine energy in their homes, if they're like single men, let me tell you, they're terrible at decorating. They want efficiency, and that's it. That's all they care about. They want efficiency and to have a space to eat, sleep, and poop. That's it. They don't care about the way that things look, unless, again, he's a more integrated man. If he's a more integrated man between his masculine and his feminine energies, or if he's already been a married man and he's older, those are the guys that tend to have more of that creativity, from what I have noticed. But the men that have never had a woman's touch, they're just, it kind of creates conflict between the woman and the man, as to why he can't understand why she wants things in the living space a certain way, and he doesn't care about the exact color or matching the color palette of the room. So yes, women are multifaceted and somewhat difficult to understand. And I was just talking to a guy the other day, and we were having such a beautiful conversation. And he said, women are not complicated. He said, they are complex, but they are not complicated. And I said, wow, just that statement right there, you have proven to me that you are an integrated man. Just with that statement alone. Because he had the wisdom to say that women are not complicated. They are just multifaceted beings. They are just more complex and different than men. But we are not overcomplicated or crazy. Sometimes we are crazy, right? If you want to call it that. We are irrational. We do have a different hormonal cycle that does dictate how we show up in life, day in and day out. But we are just simply women who need to feel safe and feel understood and feel heard and be seen for who we are and what we desire. Okay, I'm cutting this one off. I'm going back inside to hang out with my family. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment, subscribe if you're not already. I love you. I'll see you in the next one.